So good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the conference, to the third and last day of the conference. And we're starting this morning with Chiara Vecchi. I hope I get the name right. Good. And her talk is, well, you'd like to introduce yourself in a moment. Let's not forget we're humans, from trade fairs to peer revision. People trust people for technology. And I love that title. And Chiara, please go ahead and introduce yourself a bit better than I can, and showing is enabled for you. So go ahead, start.
Okay, thanks. So I'll start sharing my slides, if you don't mind. And I was thinking we can maybe save our questions for a Q&A session at the end. But if you have a question, you don't want to forget that, you might want to pop it into the chat. And then at the end of the session, we're going to have a look at the chat too. So let's see now if technology supports me, because I'm human, but right now I do need technology. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So let's start. Thanks, Rui, for your kind introduction. Let's have a look at our agenda for this short session. I'll just briefly introduce myself, then we'll talk about trade fairs, we'll touch the topic of business cards, we'll talk about personal branding, networking events, transcreation, language consultancy, peer revision. Then we'll have a slide with the references if you're interested in them. And then, as I said, we're going to have about 10 minutes of Q&A session. So, very quickly, I'm an English and German into Italian translator, and I specialize in marketing, travel and tourism, lifestyle and beauty, and medicine, because I work in partnership with a medical consultant. Before going freelance in my sort of like previous life, I was employed in customer service and marketing roles. And for example, I attended trade fairs as an exhibitor. I had to deal a lot with customers, both on the phone and in person when we visited them. So I think that this has given me certain tools to observe that no matter how much technology advances, we still do need some sort of human touch. So let's start with trade fairs. You might know or you might not know that, but I usually attend trade fairs now as a translator to promote my services to exhibitors who are there. And if you want to have some statistics, the total income share from in-person trade fairs was 10% in 2021 and 4% in 2022. And I'll give you the rationale behind those numbers in a bit. And even if 2022 was a lot less than 2021, I had a significant income increase. I was lucky, I did well, who knows? But it's more or less the same figure. So I can say that in-person trade fairs definitely helped me to get some customers. However, I also attended quite a lot of online trade fairs. Okay, and guess what my income has been from that? Zero, nothing, absolutely nothing. Okay. I was wondering why, also because this happened when the pandemic hit the world. Okay, so everything went online, as we all know. And as you might imagine, even if you have never attended trade fairs, it takes a lot of money for companies to reserve a space at the trade fair, create a booth, book accommodation, flights, whatever, for the team who's going to go there, then do the follow-up, prepare marketing materials and all that. So it's a big investment for companies, while online events are a lot cheaper. Okay. However, there are statistics that show that 95% of regular exhibitors prefer in-person to virtual events. So it's basically everyone, okay? And why is that? Given that we always hear about companies wanting to save money, to cut costs and all that. And this is a huge cost, okay, when they are budgeting. This is because people want actually to meet people. They want to see and get to know whom they might work with, no matter if it's a customer or a supplier. And the same applies for potential customers, for example, visiting a trade fair. Okay. And so at the end of the day, trade fairs are there so that you can have, let's call them short meetings. Okay. You go there, you have a chat, you pitch your services, or you at least ask what the company is doing and all that. And we can call those face-to-face meetings, more or less. And it's been researched, and face-to-face meetings facilitate more effective communication. They help build strong relationship, and they increase engagement. Okay, so at the end of the day, companies have seen that doing this is a great return on the investment for sort of like creating the booth and all that. Then let's move on to business cards. Okay. I'd like to ask you this question. How can you keep in touch with a business contact? Okay. And I've just listed a few ways. Might be LinkedIn, might be phone, might be email, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. You can name whatever sort of like social media or communication mean you want. So why do we still use business cards? Because I don't know, maybe you remember at some point during the pandemic, people were saying business cards are dead, just throw them away, recycle them, do something with them. When trade fairs came back to sort of like live events, in-person events, business cards were there again. Okay. And why is that? Because if you are just a LinkedIn contact, an email address, an Instagram follower, you basically get lost in a myriad of contacts. Okay. So when you go to, for example, to a networking event somewhere, and then you hand a business card to someone, you are basically planting a seed to be remembered more easily. Okay. Rather than just being a LinkedIn connection that maybe you don't even remember after a few days. Okay. And I've added, for example, this picture, but I think we can all remember at least one business card or marketing material that really caught our attention. Okay. And then you sort of like help creating that connection so that you're not just a string of code in a social media or on a screen. Then let's go on to personal branding. I'm pretty sure that you are on at least one social media platform, okay? Or if you are not, at least we are all familiar with them. And think about your contacts, okay? As if your social media of choice, which might be LinkedIn for us translators, is like your sort of like group of contacts. I'm pretty sure that you have a lot more contacts on this platform that your actual contacts in real life, okay? But also I'm pretty sure that you can remember a lot more easily the people in your sort of like in-person circle rather than the people in that network. Okay. Why is that? Because people get lost on those social media. Okay. And this is why the need to make an impression is more important than ever. Okay. Because technology might help us to sort of like keep in touch, even if we live far away from each other, if we haven't been in touch for a long time, or things like that. But we risk to get lost, as I was saying before, okay, unless we are memorable in a way. And this can only be done by being human, by showing up, by showing that you have certain sort of like characteristics, okay? And this is why we have seen the rise of personal branding, okay, which we can define as the process of creating a brand identity for a person or a company, okay? And although this is a marketing concept that maybe we can apply more to brands or companies, okay, we should not forget that inside that we have the word personal, okay? So brands do need to sound like people, okay? This is also why we have, for example, can everyone still hear me? Because I hear some sort of like noise in the background.
There are noises also.
Okay, good. Sorry for the interruption. So I was saying, personal branding, we have the adjective personal there. This is because brands, people alike, do need to sound like people. This is why when, for example, you read the brief about the tone of voice of a brand, usually the description and the adjectives that people use can be referred to a brand. Sorry, it can be referred to a person, okay? It's lively, it has sort of like a humorous tone and all that, okay? Because at the end of the day, people buy from people that they know, they like, and trust, okay? So this is the same for brands, okay? Brands need to make sure that they sort of like create a bond with their potential customers, okay? It's the same for us and our customers or our colleagues, okay? So that we create a certain bond and then people feel attracted to listen to us, see what we have to say, and in the end, maybe trust us. So maybe buy our services, buy our products and all that. And this was a quote by Bob Berg. Then we have networking events, okay? And I'd like to ask you another question. Do we still need to network in 2023? Because if you think about that, we have all this technology at our hands, so that if you think about that, you might say, oh, we don't really need to see each other in person anymore, or at least we don't really need to gather online, because if I need, for example, let's put it very simply, like a plumber, I just need to Google like plumber in somewhere, and then I'll find someone, okay? And there you go. And the machine helped me to find what I was looking for, okay? And I talked about the plumber because I'm currently having plumbers in my house, so I do know what I'm talking about. But actually, people are 90% more likely to trust and buy from a brand recommended by a friend, okay? And the same applies to people, okay? So even, for example, if that plumber seems super perfect, but your friend tells you that you might want to use this other person because they've been to services and all that, you might actually want to follow your friend's advice, okay? So we need to recognize that human input in those decisions really does play a very important role, okay? No matter if the first plumber sort of like ranks first on Google or something like that, okay? We're probably going to trust our friend's advice. And so at the end of the day, we tend to trust people more than machines. Then we are going to touch on transcreation, okay? And I think that this bit might overlap with what Nina Zattler-Hovder, and I hope to pronounce her name properly, I'm not sure, said, I think, yesterday evening. So what is transcreation? Okay. In her book, Get Fit for the Future of Transcreation, Nina Sattler-Hofter defines transcreation as translation plus copywriting, okay? And she has a nice definition, which is basically that transcreation is a unique type of service in the field of multilingual communication that merges two services that are usually provided separately. So translation and copywriting, okay? So transcreation, we can say, is a very human practice, and we can use artificial intelligence to help us, but its results need to be evaluated. So it's a tool, okay, like a cat tool or something like that. And for example, one of the parts of her book that I really liked, and I think that is fit for this purpose, is using rationales when translating headlines, okay? So Nina Sattler-Hofter explains how we should sort of like motivate why we are translating headlines or taglines or slogans in a certain way, okay? And in order to be able to write even a couple of sentences to justify our choice, we need to sort of like draw from our cultural awareness, from our experience, from our knowledge and all that, and be able to sort of like condense all this in a few sentences so that our customers do understand what we mean and why we made that decision in a way that is tailored to them, okay? And we are the only ones who can understand, for example, if customer number one is very culturally aware, for example, of that target country, or maybe it's the first time they are, I don't know, localizing their materials, so they need more explanation, they need sort of like more help from our side, okay? So artificial intelligence here can help, but would be just a tool, okay? Because transcreation is still very, very human. Then we have language consultancy, okay? And when I mean consultancy, I just mean a company that gives advice on a particular subject. And we as translators, interpreters, and all that can also work as language consultant, okay? And what advice are companies looking for when they contact a language consultant, okay? Cultural awareness, okay? They want to make sure that their message doesn't get lost or it doesn't get sort of like distorted, okay? The meaning of certain expressions at certain times of the year, in certain contexts and all that, okay? Color coding, for example. In Italy, black is the color that you associate with funerals, for example. In Japan, it's white. And this is just a super simple example for that, okay? You might think, okay, I'm just going to like Google that, and then at some point I'm going to find that out. But who tells you that it's the real truth? Who tells you that it's been the same forever for the time frame you are going to target? Okay, you need someone to sort of like give you that final confirmation. Cultural references, okay, with this with this sort of like cultural reference, I don't know, to a certain place or to a certain episode, to a certain TV series, be understood in this other country. And humor and puns, and we all know that humor and puns are like tricky aspects. So in the end, when companies contact a language consultant, they are looking for peace of mind, okay? Because they are looking for that knowledge that they are not able to acquire, okay? And if we think about language consultancy in a sort of like broader way, we can also include machine translation, post-editing, and artificial intelligence, okay? Because if you think about that, machine translation, post-editing, okay, might be seen as a sort of like language consultancy job, in the sense that you have a look at the translation and you have the tools to judge if that sentence, for example, can be used, should be modified, and the extent of those changes. Okay, let's say think about, for example, light post editing and deep post editing. Okay, there are rules for both, but you are the one who can apply them. And artificial intelligence too. For example, if AI writes a blog post for you, has it kept the tone that you wanted? Where are the sources coming from and all that? There still needs to be some sort of human evaluation, okay? Even if the level of those tools has improved a lot. Then we have peer revision, okay? And last question for today, I promise. Can a machine evaluate a translation? Okay, let's think about that. Okay, is it a yes? Is it a no? My answer would be it depends. Okay, because on one hand, machines are already helping us to evaluate our translations. Okay, let's just think of some basic tools that I think some of us do take for granted, like spell check. Okay, QA tools in general. Okay, terminology management. Machines are actually better at terminology management than humans, because they just go through the text, have a look. If, for example, you have used that approved term, and then they present you with a list of inconsistency, but you are the one who decides, for example, okay, actually here we needed a different term because there was an exception. Okay, or maybe here the term is used in the singular form and here it's used in the plural form. So the machine has a word, sorry, the terminology management tools shows a warning, but it's actually not. Okay, this is something that only a person can evaluate. Okay, and CAT tools in general. Okay, we already work with them. They have helped us in being, I'd say, more consistent in general. Okay, but still they do need some sort of final check. And going back to the question, can a machine evaluate translation? And I was saying it depends. The answer is also no. Think of proofreading and editing. Okay, these are still tasks that are performed by humans. Okay, or at least you might run a general check, but then you need to go through that. And we all have examples of things that have just been machine translated or something like that. No check, no proofreading, and then published on the internet. Okay. The premium translation market, okay, where companies do want to have individuals to work on their text, okay, because it's taken them so much time to prepare them, to create them, and all that, and they want the same sort of like effort and attention to go into their target markets. Providing feedback, okay. This is something that a machine can do. This is also why we get so wild if a customer, for example, runs our text into Google Translate and then says, oh, but Google Translate says otherwise. Okay. Also translation certifications. Okay. No matter how many people get the same text, okay, there will still be individuals marking those texts, because we know that it's quite hard to say that there is always just one right translation for a sentence, paragraph, or a word. Okay. And finally, we also have peer review groups. And when I say peer review groups, I mean translators or interpreters that do get together to work on the same text, on the same speech, on the same extract, and then evaluate their performances, discuss about the sort of like workflow that they use to come up with that solution. Okay, we started one in my small Italian translation association of those peer review groups, and it's been going very well, because I think that people do sort of like lack this sort of human exchange. Okay. And so this is an area where, as we said, machines cannot evaluate translations. And then I'd like to, so we've had a look at sort of like human input in trade fairs regarding business cards, what else? Personal branding, networking events, transcreation, language consultancy, peer revision. And I'd like to end my short talk with this by Sarah Silva, who you might know. She's a German into English chemical translator, and she sends out a bi-weekly, I'd say, newsletter to people. And I got it the other day, I think on Friday, and I thought this is perfect to end my talk. Berate companies for using machine translation or doing translation in-house, and their defenses will activate faster than you can say professional translators do it better. Okay, explore what they believe to be true and what they would like to happen, and you must just gently guide them along the best path to achieving those goals with you by their side. Okay, so my final wish for this talk is that we all become sort of like guides for our customer, and we make the best use of those online tools and machines that are available to us. So that was it. Here are my references, and thanks for listening, for being here. And I'm on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I would really like to connect with you if you are on those social media too. And I also have a website if you want to email me or send me a direct message through my contact form. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I think we can just have a look at any questions and comments that you might have. Uri, shall I read the questions and then have a look at them? Do you mind if I do that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so I'll have a look.
I think they're mostly comments, but
Facebook is my main platform for Greg. Yeah, it really depends on what your target is and all that. I personally really like LinkedIn. I think it's good to find other translators, but I know that Facebook is quite popular among translators, especially Facebook groups. Jillian says that I use LinkedIn for professional and Facebook for personal. I used to do that too, but my Facebook is really dead now. Mr. Berg is wise. Yes, it helps. Transcreation is new territory for me. Yeah, but who knows? It might turn into a specialization. Artificial intelligence, not yet. Thank you very much. And Miss Vecchi has myopia. Yes, I do.
Yes, I studied optometry 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, I do have that. This is why I'm wearing glasses.
Of course.
Uri, I think we are done because I don't see any more questions or comments.
well, perhaps someone else wants to ask a question, not on the chat, but just anyone else. Well, first, I would like to say that certainly agree with the insight you gave at the end there, that instead of attacking companies, should work with them and work with what they believe and explain to them what the limitations and the benefits of various ways to do things are. It's much better. People tend to respond offensively when to attacks, quite true. So always work with them, not against them. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I think we can also make a sort of like comparison with Canva. Okay.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know Canva, Canva is a platform where you can create online materials like business cards, I don't know, presentations like the one you've just seen and so on. And you can also print them, okay?
Yeah.
You can do like some nice jobs, but if you do want to go premium, then a graphic designer will always beat Canva. I think it's an analogy that we can also do. Like, what are you looking
Yeah,
for?
yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I like to do also is when I'm asked about the machine translation, I also like to point out those areas where it works better. Not better than us, but better than in other areas. For instance, limited domains. That's worked quite well for a number of years. Limited domain, if it's usually when you have like a chat with a specific service, like on a chat with a travel agent, and machine translation is used there. That's the reason it works, because it uses very small vocabulary and a well-known context. So the machine translation can handle that. So other areas like this work. And also pointing out the difference between limited domain and more general translation, or perhaps the domain of the client.
Yeah. Also, if you think about, for example, European Union languages, where they try to translate most of their content, if you have a text regarding the European Union, it might be the case that the machine translation is quite good, quite high quality. Because I remember at some point someone was saying Google talks like a bureaucrat, a EU bureaucrat. Okay. Because there is such a big corpus that is available for free. And then, for example, Google Translate grows from that. But for example, it also depends on the language. If it's a language with a limited diffusion, then the machine translation is usually horrible, also because it goes through English as a sort of like language to bridge that limited diffusion difference.
Okay, anyone else? Comments, questions, remarks, insights?
Yeah, I have one question. What are your sources for knowing what trade shows are going on? Is it something, is sometimes people outside the trade, in other words, our customers, if you're not connected to it, you don't know where the trade shows are going.
My sources for trade shows are actually about lifestyle and beauty, because this is a source I sort of like it. It's one of my specializations. And so I started by having a look at a trade fair premises not too far away from where I live, okay, and see what trade fairs they offered regarding lifestyle and beauty, okay. Another thing that I did was to contact thought industry leaders, okay, on LinkedIn and on their websites, and ask, where would you go if you had to sort of like think of some really important trade fairs, okay? So I got some advice from those people as well, because most of them were really nice to reply. Another thing, this is also something that I teach in webinars, it's to usually start small and have a look in your area, so that you're not investing too much money and too much time in terms of like flying somewhere for a huge event and then feeling overwhelmed by that. Also, what you can do is to have a look at companies you would like to work for, okay? See if they are on social media, okay? And then check if they are publishing any content regarding any trade fairs or even networking events or any sort of conferences they are attending. And that might be a good starting point to have a look, for example, at that trade fair, and then see if there are already companies attending. If there's an exhibitor list, then have a look at some exhibitors that might interest you, and then sort of like keep doing this in a circle, okay? And then maybe attend a couple of events and decide if it's worth going again. if it's not. I don't know. This was like a webinar of 1 hour packed in like 30 seconds. So please do let me know if it didn't answer your question.
You answer the question. It's one of the challenges if you don't live in a if you live in the peripheries, we say in Israel, it's a challenge to get access to a lot of the industry events, because I live in the north of the country, which is, in other words, and any event in the center is a whole day. Just that's the way it is.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, this is basically what it is. I would like start with that, or maybe at some point, if you see, a very interesting fair, you might want to pair it with a holiday or something like that, so that you make the most out of your time.
Let me make it very clear. I'm very happy I don't live in the center of the country. I'm not disappointed at all, but there are a few disadvantages from time to time.
Okay.
I think that living in Israel, you're limited to the trade fairs here. I don't see many translators, except for the large agencies, who would want to actually invest in a booth in a trade fair. However, when there were a lot more exhibits going around, I recall that, I would go to book fairs and things like that, and I would see if I could connect maybe with people to, if we shared common interests. And today I would say, well, maybe some of these publishers or some of the exhibitors might have potentially work for translators. And so it's worth like going in as a freebie if it happens to be convenient, not to exhibit, but to try and broaden your market.
Yeah, I do agree. And sorry if it wasn't clear before. When I say that I attend trade fairs, I attend them as a visitor and then visit the booth of the companies that I find interesting. Also because usually having a booth, even if it's just a very simple one, is some sort of prohibitive cost for a freelancer. And you have to be there all day and all that, which is, it's not the case, at least for me. So yeah, I usually mean that I go there and then go around the fair, visit the companies that I think would be a good match for me, and then keep following up.
And from my experience 2 days ago at the live in-person day at the conference, I think it gives a completely different vibe. We've had great days online, but there is something in that buzz and the personal connection, and and actually speaking to people and just spending a bit more time with them. So
yeah, this is also where I think that networking events like this one now have like an in-person day, because it does make a huge difference, as you were saying. Because rather than just seeing sort of like a patchwork of little faces, then you talk to actual people, you get some sort of like vibes, you see you see body language, you definitely feel more connected to certain people and all that. So yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're out of time. And thank you for thank you for this great talk, and thank you everyone for those great comments and questions.